Hi guys, hope you all are doing fine. And this is another lecture on macroeconomics. And today we are going to start with the third unit. So before we start, just a brief introduction about myself. So I'm Sandhya Rao, working as an assistant professor at St. Andrews Institute of Technology and Management. And these are the topics that we are going to cover in the subsequent lectures, starting with the nature of fiscal policy, what fiscal deficit is, then how fiscal policy helps in the growth and price stability. Then what are the basic issues in the management of fiscal deficit, then the nature and objectives of public debt, and finally we'll cover the business taxes, their types and rationale, and what tax incidence is actually. All right, so this is going to be an introduction class. So I'll tell you about what fiscal policy is and what kind of fiscal policies are there and what measures can be taken. So in a very layman language, fiscal policy has something to do with the taxes and government spending. Okay, so these are the two very major components that we're going to use when we talk about fiscal policy. So we all know that taxes form a very large part of government revenue, and they utilize those revenues or those taxes for the government, for the public welfare. All right, so we all know that government spends the entire money on the construction of railway, on the construction of highway, on the construction of hospitals, schools. So all these kinds of things can be termed as government spending, wherein they you utilize all the revenue that they have earned, and they actually do that for the welfare of the economy, and so that the economy can grow, and there is equitable just there is equity in the economy, and so on and so forth. So before we continue ahead, I want you to see a short video about what fiscal policy is. So let's get started.
Fiscal policy refers to the combined governmental decisions regarding a country's taxing and spending. The term fiscal policy is associated with British economist John Maynard Keynes, who believed that governments should influence macroeconomic productivity levels by doing such things as improving the employment rate, combating inflation, and flattening business cycles. Take the example of the nation of Recesnia. Recesnia's economy has been stagnant for the past 2 years. The government leaders might try to boost the economy by lowering taxes. A lower tax rate puts more take-home pay in the hands of taxpayers, who then spend that money and spur the economy. Or Recesnia might try to create jobs by using government money to build infrastructure like highways and river dams. Detractors argue that Recesnia's fiscal policy creates no new jobs because the government gets its money from taxing productive activity in the private sector. Raising taxes to pay for infrastructure jobs reduces the amount of money in the private sector, which reduces the number of private sector jobs. The net effect, according to the opponents of fiscal policy, is zero overall job creation. What if Recesnia's efforts work and its stagnant economy turns into a robust economy? The main danger in a robust economy is inflation. To combat inflation, Recesnia's government leaders could reduce spending and raise taxes. The reduced spending would cut overall economic demand because the government would be using less of the economy's resources. How? Raising taxes would reduce the amount of money that people have to spend, thus also reducing demand. The likely resulting budget surplus could be used to spur any future downturn in Recesnia's economy.
All right, so from the video, we got to know that, the government may increase the taxes, the government may increase the government spending, depending upon the situation prevailing in the economy. So when the government increases the taxes, what happens is that, the disposable income gets reduced and people have less income to spend on the consumer goods and other goods. So demand comes down, and as a result of that, the excess money which was prevailing in the economy is taken out. So in a way, we can say that when the economy is facing inflationary conditions, so in that case, the government increases the taxes, right? And when the government feels that economy is lagging behind and there's a recession coming up, so in that case, the government will try to spur the government spending and reduce the taxes. The government can follow either of the policy or a combination of both the policies. So it depends upon the situation. Okay, so let's study about it more in detail now. So what fiscal policy is? Through the fiscal policy, the government of a country controls the flow of tax revenue and public expenditure to navigate the economy. Okay, so here two very important things are written. One is the flow of tax revenues and public expenditure. These are the two things which the government tries to manipulate in fiscal policy so as to navigate the economy, so as to keep the economy on track, and so as to ensure a smooth flow of investment, which could ultimately lead to growth and prosperity of the economy. So we'll be altering the tax rates and we'll be altering the level of public expenditure depending upon the different situations that that are prevailing in the economy. So these are few points that we get to know from the video and from the definition. So fiscal policy is the mean by which the government adjusts its spending levels and the tax rates to monitor and influence the nation's economy. So as I've told you that, these are the only two very important part or two very important components when we talk about the fiscal policy, the spending level and the tax rate. So we try to adjust these two things so as to monitor and influence the nation's economy. It is the sister strategy to monetary policy through which a central bank influences a nation's money supply. Now we all know that government tries to intervene in the economy using either fiscal policy or monetary policy or a combination of both. So monetary policy and fiscal policy are both interrelated. So we can also say that they are sister policies. Monetary policy has something to do with the monetary situation with the money supply, and which is totally governed by the central bank, that is RBI in case of India. And using a mix of monetary and fiscal policy, the government can control the economic phenomena. So these are the only two things that the government uses when they want to intervene in the economy. Now, why we actually felt that there's a need of economic policy, there's a need of fiscal policy. Why was it being felt? So prior to the Great Depression period, which means that prior to 1929, we relied more on the laissez-free kind of situation in which we allow the demand and supply forces to govern the market, wherein the price and everything will be determined by the demand and supply forces, and things adjust automatically. The government does not intervene in the economy. The government does not try to stabilize the things which are prevailing in the economy. So prior to that, we relied more on the automatic stabilization rather than on discretionary stabilization. So first of all, I'll tell you about what automatic stabilization is. It is when we feel that there is no need for any fiscal policy. We simply rely on the strong structure, on the building up of strong structure, wherein we have everything planned in the at the beginning of the year, which means that we have already fixed the tax rate and everything in the beginning only, and we're not going to intervene in the middle of the session or in the middle of the year. So all the things will stabilize automatically. So it does not require explicit action by the government. Okay, so what we exactly do, for example, as a situation of recession comes up in automatic stabilization kind of a thing. So in that case, income will reduce and obviously the unemployment will increase. So we have already fixed the different tax rates in the beginning itself. Okay, so let's say we are following a policy of progressive tax in which we'll be charging different tax rates depending upon the level of income of the people. So if a person who is coming from a lower strata or whose income is falling down, so in that case, he will have to pay a lesser amount of tax as compared to a person whose level of income is high. So in such a case, we have not intervened in the middle of the situation. These progressive tax were already determined in the beginning of the year. So the government is not explicitly intervening in the situation here. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Let's say income up to 5 lakh is exempt from any kind of taxes. Okay, now let's say the income of a person is 10 lakhs. Now earlier he was paying a tax of, let's say, 30% on that 10 lakhs. So he was paying a tax of 30,000. Okay, now his income has reduced to 5 lakh. Now as I've told you that because of recession his income has reduced, and now his income is only 5 lakh. Now tell me, because of the progressive tax which was already being determined in the beginning itself, the amount of tax that he is actually going to pay now will be zero. So earlier he was paying 30,000 as taxes, and now he's only paying zero taxes. So now his disposable income is definitely higher, because if we try to compare it in relative terms, then his income is definitely higher in this case. Okay, absolute terms में measure मत करना कि पहले 10 lakhs या ना 5 lakhs हो गई तो income कम हो गई. We're not talking about that, but we are talking about the disposable income in relative term. अभी उसको 100% अपनी income का dispose करने के लिए option मिला हुआ है, but earlier he was not getting that option. So in terms of that, because now you see that income जो है वो कम हो गई है, sorry, टैक्सेस जो है वो कम हो गए, उसकी डिस्पोजेबल इनकम जो है वो इंक्रीज हो गई है, देन ऑटोमेटिकली अब जो चीजें हैं वो बेटर हो जाएंगी. एंड लेट्स टेक अनदर एग्जांपल. आप इसको ऑटोमेटिक स्टेबलाइजेशन में एक और चीज ले लेते हैं हम, कि हमने अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट अलाउंसेस का भी एक ऑप्शन रखा है. तो लेट्स से इफ अ पर्सन इज देयर हुज इनकम was 5 lakh before and now his income has totally become zero, मतलब वो unemployed हो गया. So in that case he will be getting unemployment allowances. So what we are trying to say is that in no case there will be a shortage of funds. ठीक है, जो भी हमारी स्पेंडिंग थी, जो भी हमारा डिमांड था, वो सेम रहेगा, सेम लेवल पे रहेगा, या फिर रिड्यूस होगा तो वो इतना सिग्निफिकेंट रिडक्शन जो है वो नहीं आएगा. सो इट विल रिमेन मोर और लेस ऑन द सेम कंजम्पशन लेवल. ठीक है, सेम कंजम्पशन ग्राफ पर ही रहेगा, ज्यादा नीचे नहीं आएगा, because we feel that this transition is temporary, it's not permanent in nature. So we'll remain on the same consumption graph, same consumption function. So this is automatic stabilization. Okay, things will automatically come on track. But following the World War II, it was determined that government had to take a proactive role. It was being felt कि government को role proactively involved होने की जरूरत है, because things are not changing automatically. Things are taking a lot of time if we leave them to settle off automatically. So in such a case, to regulate the unemployment, to regulate the business cycle, and to regulate the inflation and cost of money, we thought that government should actively get involved in the different situations. So by using a mix of monetary and fiscal policy, depending upon the political orientation कैसी है, हमारी कैसी philosophy है, जो भी चीजें हैं, सारी चीजों को देखते हुए हम अपनी monetary और fiscal policies के tools के through गवर्नमेंट जो है वो कंट्रोल कर सकती है सिचुएशन को. ओके, सो इन दिस केस जब गवर्नमेंट ट्राई करती है कंट्रोल करने की, तो उसको हम बोलते हैं डिस्क्रिशनरी स्टेबलाइजेशन. ओके, व्हेन द गवर्नमेंट ट्राइज टू कंट्रोल द थिंग्स, दैट इज नोन एज डिस्क्रिशनरी स्टेबलाइजेशन. इन दैट केस, इफ यू ऑल नो दैट जो हमारा इनकम का फंक्शन है या जो हमारा डिमांड का फंक्शन है, दैट इज व्हाट, जो हमारी जीडीपी है, व्हाट इज द जीडीपी फंक्शन, C plus I plus G plus X minus M. Okay, C stands for consumption, I stands for investment, G stands for government spending, and X stands for export, and M stands for imports. तो हम यहाँ पर इन्हीं सब components को influence करने की कोशिश करते हैं when we are talking about the discretionary policy. Okay. All right. So moving ahead, these are the objectives of fiscal policy. Starting with the efficient allocation of financial resources, wherein the government tries to establish कि हमें कितना कितना खर्चा कहाँ चीजों पर करना है. For example, the government may decide that okay, we'll be devoting 30% of the revenue for poverty alleviation program, 10% for the educational programs, so on and so forth. तो वो अपना एक पूरा plan जो है, budget जो है वो prepare करते हैं that how they are going to allocate the resources. Okay. Then the next thing is या फिर railway infrastructure and non-developmental projects में कितना devote करना है, as in the subsidy, then unemployment allowances, defense, and all these things, interest payments on all the activities पे वो कैसे allocation करना है resources को, that is decided. Reduction, next is reduction in inequalities of income and wealth. See, for every government it is very important, and for every economy it's very important that there should be equal distribution of wealth and income. Now यहाँ पे equal distribution का मतलब है that if two people are employed in the same occupation, then they should be getting equal pay. Okay, if they're doing the same work in the same organization. So, and the kind of remuneration that they're getting, that should be justifiable according to their work profile. Okay, so that income distribution and wealth distribution is equal. Also, the government have introduced progressive tax concept in which, a person who is having higher income will pay high tax, and a person who is having lower income will pay lower taxes, so that people do not feel burdened. Because if all the people will have to pay the same taxes, then what will happen? I'll give you an example. Let's say there's a person whose income is only 5 lakhs. Okay, 5 lakhs income hai, and there's a person whose income is let's say 10 lakhs. Now if the tax rate is, let's say, 10%, so 10% के हिसाब से this person will be paying how much? 50,000, and this person will be paying 1 lakh as taxes. ठीक है? अब इससे क्या होगा? If we talk about relative terms, absolute terms में तो definitely 10 lakh वाले का tax ज़्यादा है और 5 lakh वाले का कम है. But in relative term, this 50,000 forms a very greater proportion. ठीक है? मतलब इसको थोड़ा baby burden feel ज़्यादा हो कि 5 लाख में से जो उसके 50,000 taxes है वो तो चले ही गए हैं. तो इस तरह का burden ना feel करे, तो that is why we have introduced progressive tax, so that person whose income is less will pay a lower tax. Let's say हम ये कह देते हैं कि 5 लाख वाला जो है वो सिर्फ 5% पे करेगा और जिसकी 10 लाख है वो 10% पे करेगा. So in that case, this person will be paying only 25,000 and the person with 10 lakh income will pay 1 lakh. ठीक है? तो इससे क्या होगा? आपका एक इक्विटेबल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन हो जाएगा इनकम एंड वेल्थ का. ठीक है? The next thing is price stability and control of inflation. It is very important that you try to control the inflation in your economy, because inflation up to a certain level is definitely good, but beyond a certain level, it is very harmful for the economy. Because what happens is कि जब आपकी supply की capacity, production capacity has already reached the maximum limit, even after that, if the demand is not being controlled, then in such a scenario, the price level will go up, and it will cause inflationary situation in the economy, which is a bad thing. And in that case, the government will have to ensure price stability, because price अगर बहुत ही exponentially high level पे पहुंच जाएंगे, then आपकी जो money की power है, that will go down, that will deteriorate. Okay, so things will become expensive. बहुत ज़्यादा expensive हो जाएंगी, बाहर की countries के लिए भी वो चीज़ें जो है बहुत ज़्यादा expensive हो जाएंगी. And in such a case, आपकी करेंसी जो है वो अफेक्ट होगी, आपकी मनी की वैल्यू कम हो जाएगी. बिकॉज लेट्स टेक एन एग्जांपल कि पहले एक नॉर्मल जो टमाटो है, अगर उसका प्राइस जो है लेट्स से 10 रुपीज है, एक टमाटो का प्राइस, अगर इफ आई टेक एन वेरी वेग एग्जांपल, इज 10 रुपीज, and if for the same tomato you have to pay let's say 500 rupees, because the demand is not being controlled and inflation बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ गया, तो what is the value of money? अब आपको 500 रुपए देके एक टमाटो मिल रहा है, पहले आपको 10 रुपीज देके एक टमाटो मिल रहा था. So this is what the value of money is all about. कि यहाँ पे आपकी जो मनी की वैल्यू बहुत ज्यादा कम हो गई है, अब आप 500 रुपए में भी सिर्फ एक टमाटो ही ले पा रहे हो. So this is the effect of inflation on the economy. So that is why government have to intervene, and they have to ensure that price stability is established in the economy and inflation is under control. So for that, the government try to take the excess of money. This all obviously it all happens because people having excess of money in their hands and they create excess of demand. तो जब लोगों के पास ज्यादा पैसा आ जाएगा तो वो ज्यादा डिमांड करेंगे, ज्यादा इन्फ्लेशनरी कंडीशंस आएंगी. तो उसको कंट्रोल करने के लिए गवर्नमेंट जो है वो अपने फिस्कल एंड मॉनेटरी मेजर्स यूज करते हुए वो एक्सेस मनी को निकाल लेते हैं इकोनॉमी से. गवर्नमेंट क्या करेगी? वो आपसे बोलेंगी कि ओके वी आर इंट्रोड्यूस न्यू. अच्छा, मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी की बात ना करें, सिर्फ फिस्कल पॉलिसी की बात करें, तो गवर्नमेंट विल इंक्रीज द टैक्सेस बढ़ा देंगे बहुत ज्यादा, so that your disposable income is reduced. आपकी disposable income कम हो जाएगी तो आप automatically demand जो है वो कम कर दोगे. So this is how the government try to stabilize the price. And obviously the government will also reduce their government spending, because when they will reduce the government spending, new employment opportunities will not be there. ठीक है, लोगों के पास नई employment नहीं होगा तो job चली जाएंगी ज्यादा से ज्यादा, और again उनकी income कम हो जाएगी, and ultimately the demand will be under control. The next thing is they also have to generate employment. This is again very important for every economy. They have to ensure proper employment opportunities in the economy so as to ensure growth. तो growth के लिए employment जो है वो बहुत important है. And for this the government time and again introduces new projects, जैसे railway हो गया या कोई भी और project हो गया, कोई नया hospital construct करना हो गया, कोई भी इस तरह की चीज, any kind of development project will need people to be employed in the construction work, and people will be required for the maintenance of the organization, and to run the organization, to manage the organization. So for all these things, people will be employed, and again, employment will be generated. Employment opportunities will be generated. Then the next thing is reduction in BOP deficits. Balance of payment deficit is again a very important tool to measure the economic development. And if the economy is continuously running into deficit, then that's a bad indicator. So we need to increase, or we need to operate on the surplus level. ठीक है, wherein हमारे exports ज़्यादा होने चाहिए, imports जो हैं वो कम होने चाहिए. So the government try to reduce that difference. How? The government will reduce the taxes on the goods that you export. तो जब ड्यूटीज कम हो जाएंगी आपकी जो आप एक्सपोर्ट करें, तो अल्टीमेटली इट विल बिकम अ वेरी चीपर कॉन्सेप्ट फॉर यू. तो आप ज्यादा से ज्यादा एक्सपोर्ट करोगे. अगर आपको कोई रॉ मटेरियल इंपोर्ट करना है, तो मे बी वो उस पर भी थोड़ी रिलैक्सेशन दे दें, सो दैट आप चीजों को अच्छे से प्रोसेस कर पाओ, प्रोड्यूस कर पाओ. So with a combination of these things, the government will be able to reduce the BOP deficit as well. Then the next point is capital formation. See, capital formation is when you are able to generate investment. अगर economy में investment बढ़ रही है, and money is coming in the economy, then that is how capital is formed. जो भी एक नई asset को create कर रहा है, that is known as capital. So capital formation will boost the economic growth, and an underdeveloped country is trapped in the vicious cycle of poverty due to capital deficiency, and this is one of the major reasons behind that. Okay, and most of the affluent nations, as in the developed nations, are very well equipped with the capitals. ठीक है, उनके पास capital deficiency नहीं होती है बिल्कुल भी. So the government try to increase the rate of capital formation by encouraging savings and discouraging spendings. Savings भी नहीं, यहाँ पे हम investments को encourage करते हैं, and spending को for the time being हम control करने की कोशिश करते हैं, so that present consumption को रोक कर हम invest कर दें अगर उस money को, because we all know अभी जो हम consumption करेंगे वो consumer goods पे करेंगे, मे बी अभी उसकी money की value जो है वो शायद कम हो, ज़्यादा हो, जो भी हो. But if we are going to invest our money, then it will definitely help us in the long run. Okay, so long run perspective say, it is always seen that investment is a good thing as compared to the present consumption. Next thing which is very important is increase in the level of income. If we are able to increase the capital, ultimately the national income will increase. We have already done it in the second unit, that how investment leads to increase in national income. So when the income, when the investment increases and the savings are discouraged, in that case, ultimately the level of income goes up. Okay, then because when the investments are increasing, we are trying to say that demand is going up. Okay, and savings are discouraged, consumption भी हमारी बढ़ रही है. There are negative savings, या जो savings है वो zero level पे या कम level पे, consumption ज़्यादा और investment ज़्यादा है. So in that case, national income increases. And also development of infrastructure is there, because the government time and again introduces several projects. अभी जैसे मैंने बताया कि employment generate करने के लिए जो projects start होंगे, वो infrastructural base को ही increase करेंगे. For example, construction of metro. Metro again is a very good example of infrastructural base which is being set up in metro cities. So what happens is that government ने जैसे मेट्रो स्टार्ट कर दिए, तो उससे क्या होगा, एम्प्लॉयमेंट डेफिनेटली हैज इंक्रीज, एंड ऑल्सो the level, the living standard have improved, because people don't no longer have to use their other means of transport, क्योंकि better way है commute करने का. तो it again improves the standard of living. उसमें AC होता है, सारी चीजें होती हैं, तो वो एक अगर हम बाहर की कंट्री से भी कंपेयर करें, तो because most of the developed nations have good public transport facilities in their countries. So if we try to imitate from there, then we can see that we are also improving, and we are also having a good infrastructural base. So this is about the objectives of fiscal policy. And then we have two types of fiscal policy. One is expansionary, the other one is contractionary. So in expansionary policy, we try to increase the spending so that हमारे पास जो purchasing power है वो बढ़ जाए. And we try to reduce the taxes. When we will be reducing the taxes, again disposable income will increase, and I have already explained the concept कैसे work करता है. Then again contractionary is when you increase the taxes बढ़ा दोगे तो automatically income कम हो जाएगी, and contractionary policy work करना start कर देगी. And you will also try to reduce the spending. Government खर्चा कम करेगी, development projects में या non development projects में कम पैसा लगाएगी. ज़्यादा स्कूल ज़्यादा हॉस्पिटल्स नहीं कंस्ट्रक्ट करेंगी, ओनली तभी करेंगे जब ज़्यादा रिक्वायर्ड है. So this is what contractionary policy is, or they will try to postpone it for the present time. अभी present time में ना करके future में करेंगे. So this is contractionary policy. This is it for today's lecture, and these are the questions that you're going to do. So first is, what are the objectives of fiscal policy and what are the types of fiscal policy? So we have already covered these two topics. I hope you will be able to answer them. So all right, thank you guys.